I tried to throw some game on him, but he was like, "Oh, don't you have a boyfriend?" I'm like, "Who the fuck be worried about that?" You know what I mean? Like
Me.
who? Yeah, right.
I come
But
from out the ghetto. Niggas will
all
kill
right,
you about a just hilarious in my hood. You
I
know what I
get
mean?
it,
I
but
don't play them
my
games.
boyfriend, he wasn't that type of nigga. So that's the
What
thing.
So you
type of
did have a
nigga was
boyfriend.
he?
That's why, yeah. Yeah, I did. That's why I was going that chick. I'm like, okay, now you cool. You know what
He
I'm
quiet,
saying?
he low.
Right. But he really like funny, like he down to earth. I'm like, all right, cool. So I told him that I broke up with him. I'm like, say like, what's up now? He was like, you didn't break up with him. Like, no, you didn't. And I didn't, but I'm like, this nigga gay. Like, how you not?
You see how fucked up that is? You see that?
All right. First and foremost, give all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Kakodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of great millstone who rule well and who is worthy to be counted for double honors. Peace and citations to you brothers out there pushing this truth wholeheartedly and sincerely and for love of the gospel. It's the brother Gabaria from the Indiana camp, coming back at you again with another sit down. All right, and as you've seen at the beginning of the video, the intro, you've seen that I was watching a video of I think it's what people call the Breakfast Club. All right, and you had the woman right there. Her name was Jess Hilarious, and she's a comedian or whatever, whatever shit. But she's on this other show called Wild and Out, and the light skinned guy with the hat on, he I guess he's on the show too. And I guess when she first got there, she seen him and was attracted to him or whatever. And when she tried to get with him, he mentioned, hey, don't you got a boyfriend? Which is what you're supposed to do, all right, especially in this day and age, and this coming from, a wicked ass 2/3, how much more us? But anyways, he was like, hey, don't you got a boyfriend, like, or whatever? And she was like, and she kind of basically clowned him for it, clowned him like, like, what nigga say that? What nigga care about, who care about, if I had a boyfriend or not? You weird, So it just shows you that this type of society for doing something that's morally correct, doing something that's actually what you're supposed to do. She had a dude, and she had a dude, and the guy she wanted to get with say, hey, no, you got a boyfriend, and she tried to clown him for it, So that's why, the number one scripture I can think of is in Peter. Let me grab it right quick. Let me see how good my memory is. I want to say, what, 2 Peter 4? No. Has to be 1 Peter. Yep. Cool. This is 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 4. It says, wherein they think it strange that we run not to them to the same excess of riots, speaking evil of you. See? So these people find it strange, our people find strangeness when we don't find, the same things appealing like they do, Now, Jess Hilarious, I ain't gonna lie, is not a bad looking chick. She's actually, pretty desirable, So just imagine you get a bad looking chick trying to say, trying to spit game at you, but she got a boyfriend and you like, oh no, you got a boyfriend, most men won't turn that down, But what? And then when he did turn her down, she got, as you seen the caption, it said what? Oh, she thought he was gay and she had because she had a boyfriend. You see? Now I also got accused of that when I was in high school. People came to me and said, oh, what would you do if you seen two girls kissing? Or how do you feel about two girls kissing? And I was like, that's I didn't say awful or wicked, but I said that's weird. I said it was weird and I spoke evil of it. And then the whole, like my little friend group or whatever that I was talking to, they was like, oh bro, what the hell wrong with you? Hey, you wouldn't do this, you wouldn't do that, man. That's and I was, I was deemed a weirdo, I was deemed a loser, I was deemed something wrong with you because I didn't find two girls kissing appealing. You see? And it just shows you how wicked this society is and how backwards our people are. Because for something as righteous as old dude did, as something as because that was deemed righteous. He asked, did she have a man? She said yeah, and he was like, no, he cool. He said, oh, when niggas get killed or niggas, do something about, Just Hilarious or whatever. But still, at the same day, at the same time, man, what she basically playing him or tried to clown him because he didn't want to get with her because she had a man. You know, what's that scripture go like? Hold on. This is Proverbs chapter 30, verse 20. It says, "Such in the way of an adulterous woman," and that's exactly what she was, man. She was an adulterous woman. All right, that's what that is. If a man sleeps with another man's wife, if a man sleeps with a woman and that woman has a husband, then that's considered adultery. You see, adultery is when a man sleeps with a woman sleeps with anyone sleeps with another man and she has a husband. Not vice versa. Not if a man sleeps with a woman and he has a wife, or she doesn't have a husband. That's completely fine. But if he had a girlfriend and she spit game at him and he went for it, that would have been completely fine. But by her having a husband or a boyfriend, you know, and he rejecting her, that was deemed righteous in the eyes of the Lord. You see? But what if a woman having a boyfriend or a husband and she goes around sleeping with other men, she's committing adultery. All right. And in the law, she should be put to death. All right. That's a law where you get put to death. Both of them, the man and the woman. All right. Um, It says Proverbs 30 and 20. It says, "Such as a way as an adulterous woman, she eateth and wipeth her mouth and said, I have done no wickedness." Right, man. See, if dude actually would have got with her, they probably would, got together because they was on the same show, got together, did what they did, and then she probably would have went back to her dude and act like he didn't do nothing wrong. That's the type of society we live in. That's our women. That's 90% of our women. That's 90% of our women in this nutshell right here. They eateth and wipeth their mouths. They eateth and wipeth their mouth and say, "I have done no wickedness." I can't. I can't fucking name how many women has committed adultery on me. You know, But that's the way of the society, man. This society pushes that. Through the music, through the media, everything is about take your bitch. You know, I do this, I do that. I walk into the room. Now your girl choosing. So it's this. That's what this especially in the so-called black culture. It's all that's what we're heavy in that, man. Heavy in adultery. But when things like this, when circumstances like that happens, where you actually have upstanding people, you know, when you have people who reject women because they got a husband or they got a man, they deem that weird. You're called the weirdo, or people look down upon you. They want to question your sexuality. You see how backwards that this society is. It's Isaiah chapter 29, verse 16. It says, "Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay." See, everything in society is turned upside down, and people hold it as it came from the Lord Himself. You see, Esau has turned everything backwards. He has had this world completely go against the scriptures. All right, every little thing that Esau deems righteous or deems okay, the scripture has something against it. All right. Adultery is one of the most wickedest and vilest acts a woman can ever commit on her husband. But what does Esau do? Esau promotes it, where it's prevalent. It's almost right now. It's almost like a fucking It's almost like a guarantee. You get with a woman, you gotta kind of like watch out for this one because she might do somebody else, but a coworker or a friend. And all these women, that's all these women want. Oh, this is my male friend. This is my male friend. I wouldn't do nothing. It's like a brother. And then what? A couple months or make her mad. piss her off somehow, and watch her go to her male friend house and she be there all night. What you think they doing? You know, that's what that's what this society is all about, man. All right. But here we is, we're uplifting the truth. We're preaching how it's supposed to be, and look how that's looking, and look how our people looks at that. Oh, y'all weird. That's like what? I mean, you can go back and watch the video at the beginning. You can go watch the clip at the beginning of this video. See how she was just disgusted, and see how all the dudes was just laughing, you know, because he didn't want to get with her because she had a husband, man. It's just purity wickedness, purity wickedness. But that's all I had, you know. Basically, I just want to show that out. I seen that. I was like, oh, I definitely got to do a video on that, you know. This is a prime example of what we go through. And it's crazy because guess what? When I'm actually out here, you know, I try to spit game to, you know, a few women or whatever, you know, and I'll be like, hey, you know, hey, first thing I ask is, hey, you got a husband? You got to do anything? And if they say yeah, you know what my next response is? All right, you know, all right, well, you know, you take it easy. You have a nice day. That's my next response. That's my, all right, okay, well, you know, all right, okay, I'm gonna leave you alone. You know, you got to do it. I don't want to mess. I don't want to mess that up. You know, and most of them actually be looking like, damn, you know, I never heard that one before. Or some of them will thank you. Oh, thank you for respecting my relationship. Man, you know, that's the way it's supposed to be. That woman says she has a man, she has a dude, you let her go. You leave her alone. You don't entertain her no more. You see? If you, to your best of your ability. Now you have to talk to her, you know, for business wise, or she's a coworker or whatever, or she's, you know, you do what you do, but you don't let it get no further than that. All right. If she's asking you to, you know, oh, why don't you come over for some drinks, or how about we go out, you know, for this? And you're like, nah. You know, scripture talks all about that, you know, sitting out with a married woman at the winery, you know. You're not supposed to be having no drinks with no women if they got, you know, if they got dudes or whatever. But that's all I had. Lord willing, after this video is edifying. So till next time, stay strong, keep pushing, shalom.